Hello, my name is Kate Heisinger, and today I'll be talking about organizational control in my presentation for the graduate class, Intro to Leadership and Quality. I will be defining organizational control and what is the best way to implement it. I will also be speaking about one control system, the balanced scorecard, and what exactly that entails. So to start off, organizational control is something that can be found at any level of business. So you're definitely going to find control systems in place in large corporations. You will find some form of control in small independently run businesses. That is because organizational control is crucial to the health of an organization. By definition, it's a systematic process through which managers regulate company activities to make them consistent with the expectations established in plans, targets, and standards of performance. In other words, it's a way for management to elicit the performance they need from their employees to meet their company's goals. Employers must make sure that their employees' strengths and capabilities are being used properly in order to maximize the ability to meet the company's aspirations. Usually when there is stable organizational control, there's often stable performance. So what that means, if there's not a cohesive strategy in place, it can cause severe damage to the state of the organization because performance will not be monitored. Having organizational control often makes the safety of the company's future more secure. This is because when there is organizational control, there is a plan for future growth. When implementing organizational control, it's necessary to implement it at all levels of the company. Supervision is obviously a requirement for new and lower level employees, but it is also a requirement that supervisors are monitored. If there is a lack of control in one division, this can affect the entire company's performance. So they need to make sure that supervisors have control of their particular division and know what goals they need to be meeting. So what is the most effective way to implement organizational control? Well, there are three types of organizational control: feed-forward control, concurrent control, and feedback control. I believe that the most effective way to implement organizational control is feedback control. I believe it to be the most efficient because feedback control provides the organization's managers with a way to collect data about performance and then compare it to the company's expectations in order to progress. There are 4 steps to feedback control. First is to determine standards. So this is when companies put forth standards that must be adhered to by employees. There are no standards. It is impossible to evaluate performance by employees. So this is one of the most efficient ways to maintain control is by having standards for all aspects of the organization. And this includes everything from customer service to operations to financial measures, etc., etc. These, of course, are going to comply with the company's short and long-term goals for each of these areas. And according to DAFT, managers may find it difficult to define non-financial measures and goals. That's why it's important for managers at all levels and all divisions throughout the company to set their specific expectations for their particular areas. They're going to know what standards need to be met better than a higher up manager that may not have a hand in day-to-day operations. These, of course, are going to align once again with the overall expectations of the company. If they hope to be successful, these managers must be able to define their expectations precisely. Otherwise, their employees may be unsure of the company's expectations for them. If they are unaware of the expectations, it is going to be more difficult for them to meet the goals that are set forth for them. The next step is to assess their performance in accordance to the set standards. Managers must also determine how often they will assess performance to best suit their company's current needs. So, depending on the standard that's being evaluated, managers may review performance daily, monthly, or just annually. Some common questions managers may want to ask themselves are, is my staff meeting their weekly sales benchmarks? Is the quality of our product improving? How well is our product competing in the current market? Where are customer service ratings at? Are they improving? Are our managers acting innovatively? These types of questions will help a manager determine if they are reaching their goals. To be able to answer the questions, though, the manager must be sure that they're receiving accurate information, and this information is coming to them in a timely fashion. If not, they may not be able to act quickly enough on time-sensitive issues, such as maybe a recall on a car part for example, within the company. And when evaluating performance, managers must be flexible in their response to the information received. So this brings us to the next step, which is comparing expected performance to actual performance. So this is probably one of the most essential parts to organizational control. It's when managers compare the actual activity of their employees to the company's expectations of the employees. Comparing performances when managers are going to be able to find weak spots in the company's performance, or if there are any deviations by the employees. If a manager does find any of those mentioned previously, they must be able to identify the root of the issue and work to improve upon it. Otherwise, the problem will just continue and possibly worsen. So for example, there may be an issue in operations or how a product is produced, which will then probably lead to some kind of issue with customer satisfaction, which will then maybe lead to an issue in customer service, and so on. So the next step would be to take corrective action. If the manager has found deviations from expected performance, they must then decide what action they will take to correct the issue. There are numerous options, some more extreme than others. They may need to redesign procedures within their department, or just provide more guidance to particular employees to help them reach their goals. The more extreme circumstances, of course, would maybe require disciplinary action against an employee, or even firing of employees. Another option, depending on their particular style of management, they could collaborate with employees to identify a way to improve in particularly weak areas. A manager must also look at if the standards they have set are realistically achievable for their team. So if the goals are unachievable, managers should work to approve new standards for their employees that will still work for the organization, but make it more realistic for employees to meet the goals. If employees are consistently not meeting expectations, there is a risk of lower company morale, which could lead to worsening job performance, and so on. So that brings us to my control system of choice, the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard was first introduced by Kaplan and Norton in 1992, and they described it as a way to translate strategy into action. And it's becoming an increasingly popular form of a control system. Balanced scorecard is a system that can make an organization more accountable across the board, because it's a tool that allows managers to analyze every aspect of the organization. It's an efficient way for managers to understand the connections between their vision and the 4 different perspectives of their business. So there are 4 different perspectives in the balanced scorecard. Those include financial performance, customer service, internal business processes, and potential for learning and growth. So the first perspective I am going to touch on is the customer perspective. So this is where managers are looking at how they are perceived by customers, especially in comparison to their competitors. Retention rates are something that are normally looked at. If the customer isn't coming back to us, why are they not coming back to us? Different forms of feedback are useful to help diagnose the issue, testimonials, surveys, etc. They help us understand the quality of the good or services that the customer is receiving. And this is also where if customer service is lacking, managers will see that. Feedback also gives the company a chance to improve their customer relationships and improve any service or quality issues that are found in the feedback that may not be as evident in other perspectives that we're going to discuss. The next perspective is internal business processes. As the name states, this perspective focuses on the internal strategies of the company. Managers will see if products are being produced in line with company standards. It also focuses on the development of goods and services. Is there continual innovation happening to improve the goods provided? More importantly, are they keeping up with the current market? If not, does a new good need to be developed in order to keep up with our competitors. They also will look at operations efficiency and performance. Is the supply chain as efficient as it can be? What procedures need to be reevaluated to improve customer satisfaction and to please shareholders in terms of our financial goals? The next perspective is very employee-focused, learning and growth perspective. Managers may consider looking at employee turnover rates and job satisfaction here. Would training or learning opportunities improve these ratings in the future? Is there room for employee growth? Are we providing company tuition assistance? If we're providing education to our employees, that makes room for more innovation, which will lead to provide better goods or services for our customers. So improved job satisfaction, is going to lead to improved job performance, which then of course leads to improved goods and services, which is essential to continually meet financial performance goals that are in place for the company. This leads us to the last perspective. When speaking of financial and budgetary considerations, this is already a part of this strategic management tool. All of these perspectives need to be examined to see if they are allowing the company to meet its financial goals. Are all of the perspectives working together to please shareholders and customers alike? Are the financial outcomes such as profit margins, cash flow, and current assets in line with long-term and short-term company goals? We need to make sure that we're meeting, budget restrictions, that we're not going over that kind of thing. So that brings us to the end of my presentation. Just a quick overview. I talked about what exactly organizational control is, why it's necessary for all forms of business to have some sort of control in place, and how to go about implementing an organizational control system. And then I spoke about this specific control system, the balanced scorecard, what it entails, what it means for the company, and how it helps companies work towards their overall vision.